Chris here with Barnyard Outdoors. It's time for another 4-Minute Monday where I give you a quick review of some piece of gear that I love and use all the time in 4 minutes or less. Let's get started. What I got today is right in this bag, and this bag has seen better days. There's actually a hole in it, but this is something that every time I get a new tent, I make sure I've got a set of these to go with that tent. And what I'm talking about is the tent stakes. So most of the time when you get tent stakes with your tent, they're usually not of the best quality. You end up bending them. They don't stay firm in the ground. You run into all sorts of trouble with it. So I have found a tent stake that just works best for me. Where I live, the ground can either be incredibly hard, and you end up bending a stake trying to put it in the ground, or the stakes aren't long enough. The ground gets saturated and wet, and most of the stakes you get are just a standard length. They're just a little too short. And where I live in the Midwest, sometimes we'll get big storms that come through. The ground will get saturated wet, we'll have big wind, and those stakes will pop right out of the ground. I've had it happen several times where part of my tent becomes unsecured. And if you're using something like a tent that uses a single pole where the stakes are part of the structure, it can be a huge challenge. So these are what I ended up going with. I originally got these with my Gazelle Overland Edition tent, and these are the Gazelle Overland Stakes, and they're a nice long stake, and I'll put the measurements up on the screen, but they are incredibly durable. I mean, it's got not really a screw point on it, but it's got something that kind of looks like threading on the bottom. It's got a nice wide top. I've beaten on these things with everything from a piece of wood to a hammer to a tent stake hammer, anything I can find to get them in the ground, and they have held up really well. Plus, because of the length, they go in pretty deep into the ground and they stay there. It's got a nice wide top, which is very easy to pull out of the ground. And of course the stake goes all the way through, so you have something hard to hit with a hammer. You can see I've chunked up some of the plastic on some of these, but they have held up extremely well. Now when you get these in this bag, as I mentioned, that my bag already has a hole in it. They actually come with little rubber tips on them like this, which I am not very good at putting back on, which is why my bag has a hole in it now, because I just keep throwing the stakes in there and they are pushing through. But it has been a great stake, and you can find these on Amazon. That's where I've been ordering extra sets. I just got a set last week because I had a different tent I was using, and I realized that I didn't have a set of these with the tent. So when I find these on Amazon, they're usually around $24, $25. You get a set of 12 of them, so it's about $2 a stake, which is not a bad price for a stake that is going to last you a long time and take a serious beating. So highly recommend these. I think they've been great stakes for me in the past. Like I said, I have replaced every tent I have. I buy a set of these stakes just to have with the tent setup, which I think is important. A lot of people might say, well, you have a set, just move it to the next tent you're using. Sometimes I forget, and sometimes you'll forget as well. So highly recommend these. They've been a great stake. It's probably one of my favorite things, and I use this on every single tent now. So I'll put a link down below where you can get these on Amazon. Definitely worth the money, definitely worth having. They are heavier than a standard lightweight tent stake, but you know, it's about something that's functional and something that works, and that's the important thing when it comes to a tent stake. Put down in the comments below any comments you might have about these tent stakes. Have you used this brand? Do you have another brand that you use that you like better? Let me know. I'm really curious. Also tell me your stories if you've had trouble with tent stakes in the past, bending or just failing on you at the worst time ever. Don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to my channel. Thanks everybody for watching.